Hello creatures, my name is Chloe and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my writing goals for 2020. I know people normally post these sorts of videos at the very end of the previous year or the start of the new year, but I wanted to wait a little while until I was sure that these goals were relatively achievable for me, especially with everything I have going on with university at the moment. For those of you who don't know, I'm completing an honours year in classics, which is essentially an add-on for an ordinary bachelor's degree which I got last year. It's a lot of work. There's a 15,000 word thesis involved. It's very research heavy. It's a lot. So having writing goals and a small business and a life on top of that is a bit much. So I'm going to be kind to myself with these goals, and I'm not going to say they are be all end all. They're just things I would like to get done this year if I can. So I actually write all my goals down. I'm very big on lists and organisation, so all my lists for that sort of thing go in this lovely magical typo notebook. My best friend got me this in our first year of university together, and I've had it ever since. It is much thinner, I will say, from all the pages I've torn out of it where I've messed up, but it does the trick, and I like having all my future goals laying out in the same place. I have tried bullet journaling, but I don't have time, so I split it between this and then I have a little A5 planner that's also from Typo that works for me very, very well. So just getting into it, I have all my goals organised here. That is the most I'm going to show you, by the way, because I'm a little bit secretive. So you can roughly see there's two columns, here and here. This side is my main goals and this side is what I call my stretch goals. So it looks like there's a lot because that is a full page of writing just there, because I actually have all my goals planned out until 2025. Obviously they are subject to change. This is my ideal writing schedule. There's no publishing information on here, there's no alpha or beta reading, there's nothing. This is purely for writing and plotting. So it's ambitious, it's a big plan, but it's what I would like to be able to achieve. And even if I can't get to it right now, this is the kind of schedule I would like to be able to get to if and when I am a proper grown-up and hopefully living off some of my writing. My actual goals for 2020. I have 4 set goals and then 2 stretch goals, which are just little extras that I really would like to get to, but they might not be possible. And the way I'm structuring my goal setting over the next couple of years, if this works for me this year, is that my stretch goals are 2 goals from the next year, because I feel like that's the best way for me to both get ahead of my writing schedule and reward myself for working really, really frickin' hard, essentially. So, my 4 goals. The first one is to complete the entire first draft of the fantasy novel that I've been working on for the past 2 years. It's nowhere near being finished. I have a rough first draft of the first 11 chapters or so of the book, and I have tentative ideas for the rest of it, and a little bit of writing, but it's not as fleshed out as I would necessarily like it to be. So that's my big thing that I really want to get done. It's been my NaNoWriMo project for the last 2 years, and nano camps, it's just been continuous. But whenever I agree to do one of those things, my inspiration fizzles out. So instead, I'm going to try and get it done in small increments over the course of the year. That is my major goal. I really, really would like to get the first draft of it done. The second goal is to completely plot out a standalone fantasy book that I've had drifting around in my head since I was 18? Yeah, it's been around since I was 18. I wrote a short story for a creative writing class in my final year of high school. We call it college where I'm from, which is not usual to Australia, but that doesn't matter. I wrote a short story for it, and I know how that entire book should be, sort of. I've got my major plot lines, I've got my really important elements, I've got my themes, but I've never planned it completely. So I want to get that whole thing planned. Not writing, just plan it out in note cards on Scrivener, and that's all I need. So that's a minor goal, but also one that's a little bit important to me. My third goal, I've actually already completed. I finished this in December of 2019 because I wrote this list many, many months ago, probably no, it wouldn't be September, November. I wrote it in November of 2019 and inspiration struck, so I've finished this one, which is great because it gives me a little bit of a boost. And that was to completely plot the first story arc of a webcomic that I came up with an idea for last October. I'm really excited about this one because it's something fresh and new, which I haven't really gotten to work on anything like that in quite a long time, mainly because I've had these novels floating around in my head, and a big part of what I want to do next year is get out the old stories. But yeah, this one I'm really, really happy with. I like all the elements that I've got plotted in it, so it's exciting to have something done for once. The last of my main goals is also my most ambitious because it is to get the second draft done of my fantasy novel. This is where the whole being kind to myself part comes in. I am going to be writing a 15,000 word thesis this year. That's a big deal. It might not be possible for me to work on that and my other writing at the same time to the same degree that I would like it to be. So if I can get even just the first draft done, I'll be happy, but the second draft would be just massive dream come true type thing. So then we've got my 2 stretch goals, which I think one of these is definitely achievable since I've already started it. But the second one is also a little bit, it's a proper stretch goal, let's put it that way. So the first one is to write the entire first arc of my webcomic. I have written a few chapters of this already. There's 30 chapters in the first arc, that's all planned and done, but I need to write all that. So I need to make it cohesive. I've got to plan out my story panels appropriately and maybe do a little bit of moving around with some elements. But I think I can do this because writing a webcomic I've found is much faster for me, especially because I'm not doing the kind of overarching plot that I would normally do for a novel or even a short story, because this webcomic is designed to be episodic. It's not a big story at all. It's set in a tiny little town. It is a fantasy world, but I've put my own sort of spin on it. So it's quiet. It's a quiet little romance, and I'm really excited to write it. I also do have to teach myself to draw at some stage, but I've written that into my schedule, so that's a couple of years off, and it gives me time to decide whether I do really want to draw this myself or if I want to collaborate with somebody eventually on the art. But yeah, I really want to write that. Plus, I think it'll be a nice palette cleanser because I can smash out a chapter in about an hour. So it's not that much work, it's my extra on top of everything else that I've got going on. And my second stretch goal is to finish my fantasy novel completely. Getting the second draft done is going to be a lot. To finish it in my final, I'm happy with this draft before I give it to people to read. There's a reason it's a stretch goal. I'm not expecting to get that done until the very end of 2021. So if I get it done in 2020, I'm going to be very, very far ahead of my plans, which would be awesome. So those are my writing goals for 2020 that I've actually got fixed projects for. Other things that I really want to do, I want to get back to writing lyrically. I have a video plan talking about lyrical writing or flowery writing. I really want to make that very soon, so I will talk a little bit more about that. I want to develop my craft more, obviously, and I want to expand the worlds I'm writing in. I want to do some serious world building and get a decent file of information going so that I can flesh out these worlds and maybe continue the stories in different ways. Because I have a big thing about extended universes that are really well done and cohesive, and I would love to have one. I'd love to write one, but we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, those are both my set goals and more nebulous goals that I really want to work on in 2020. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'd love you to let me know what other writing goals you have for 2020. I'd also be really interested to see if you structure your goals in weekly, monthly, quarterly, or even yearly blocks. I'm really interested in other people's systems, so let me know what you do down below. Subscribe if you want to, like it if you did, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!